Hello and welcome to In the Kitchen with David Bradley. Today I'm going to be cooking 3 dishes that are quick and easy, and if you can turn an oven on or turn a mixer on, you can make these dishes too. First thing we're going to do is get started with my peanut butter pie. We'll go ahead and get that prepared and get it to chilling, and then we're going to make chicken casserole and Mexican cornbread. So we're going to have us a feast here in just a little while. But first, we're going to get started with dessert. And we're going to get started with an 8-ounce package of cream cheese. And we're going to put in approximately a cup of peanut butter. Because, you can't have peanut butter pie without peanut butter. And then to that, as if it's not sweet enough, we're going to add a little bit of more sweetness to it with a little bit of sweetened condensed milk. And if you're at home right now licking your lips, I am too on the inside. All right, so we got that in there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start mixing that. Get that creamed up. You'll want your cream cheese at room temperature. That way it'll cream very nicely. And as you can see, that's creaming up really good. I tell you what, I was going through some recipe books at home, and I'd borrowed a recipe book off my mother, and it was one that she uses a whole lot, and it's one of the old church recipe books, and she had this peanut butter pie recipe stuck in there, and so I called her about it, and she said, "Yeah, that's one I use." She said, "I got that off someone." She couldn't recall who, but I'm telling you what, I made it, and it's definitely a keeper. So into that, I'm going to add some Cool Whip. And I'm using extra creamy just because that's just what I had, but you can use whatever you've got. I've even used, because sometimes we'll buy sugar-free, and I've even used that before, and it turns out fine. And of course, you just reduce your sugar that way. So want to get that mixed in. Just take just a moment. Get that mixed in really good. It's kind of going to turn into tan color. It's going to be really good and creamy. Some people, I've noticed some people that make these no-bake peanut butter pies sometimes will put in some vanilla, but with the sweetened condensed milk and the peanut butter, I don't think you're going to miss it myself. But if you like it, put in a teaspoon. Gosh, that looks so good. Gosh, that looks good. And I'm just going to go around with a little rubber spatula here. Just make sure we got everything mixed in, including off the bottom of the bowl. And we're going to pour this into, I bought a store-bought graham cracker crust, and it's a 9-inch. It's a larger one, but by all means you can make your own as well. All right, so we're going to pour that right in. You can see that peanut butter, those little flakes of peanut butter in this mixture. Gosh, it looks good. And as you can see, it fills it right up. All right. little for licking, of course, for later. But anyway, we're going to put this in the freezer, let it get firm, and you can actually leave this overnight and then just bring it out when you're ready to serve. Serve it with some chocolate sauce, and we'll do that later. When we come back, we're going to get ready to make our chicken casserole, and it is so good. All right, now we're going to make a chicken casserole, and I'm telling you, this is so good. This is a recipe that I just kind of threw together one day when I was at home. Kind of one of those where you're going through the refrigerator and going through the pantry, and I was like, oh, I'll make a chicken casserole. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use 2 boxes of prepared stuffing, and so I'm going to put my butter on, let it get started to melt. And then I'm going to add 3 cups of water. Got my pan good and hot. All right. So we're going to let that start getting ready. So while we're doing that, we're going to go ahead and cut our chicken. And I've got some roasted chicken here that I had roasted. And of course, this is perfect for any leftovers that you may have. If you're like us, you don't have a whole lot of leftovers when it comes to chicken or stuff like that, but if you got any, it's perfect. This is also perfect if you want to do a turkey casserole. Use this for your leftover Thanksgiving turkey or Easter turkey. This is perfect for that. So I've got 3 pretty good sized chicken breasts, and I am just dicing it up. This was boneless, skinless, and I just roasted this in the oven with olive oil, salt, and pepper. Put it in there for about, on 400 degrees for about 35 minutes, and it comes out perfect every time. And as you can see, 3 chicken breasts is a whole lot of chicken when you dice it up. So I want to give a shout out to all of my co-workers and colleagues at Little Sandy Correctional Complex. I'm a deputy warden there, and we got some of the best corrections professionals in the world that work there, and I definitely want to give them a shout out. And just like about everywhere else, we're looking for people. So if you'd like to apply, we're hiring. And if you'd like to apply, go to careers.ky.gov and check it out. So we've got our chicken cut up. And what I'm going to do is get our pan over here, and I'm going to just put our chicken here in the bottom of the pan. Spread that out a little bit. You don't want to leave any of that, even those little fine pieces of chicken, because that's stuff you can eat. All right, get that kind of all in there, and that's a little big. I'm going to cut that one up. See a little couple of pieces. You want these kind of bite size. All right. So now that we've got that done, I'm going to put together a couple of cans of cream of celery soup. And I'm not just going to, I know some of you are out there like, he's dirty in a bowl just to put that soup out in. He could have poured that over it. Well, I want it to be good and creamy and look good and spread good, so I'm going to put it in a bowl first. And of course, get all of that out of there and just kind of give it a good mix. And I love the cream of celery because, one, you get some celery, which I actually like in any casserole. Gives it a little bit of crunch. And then I just love that flavor of celery as well. All right. I'm just kind of looking here. We'll go ahead and put our stuffing mix in. Go ahead and get that in there. Let that start soaking up. And just go by the package instructions. All right. Get me a little spoon for that. Just kind of get all that good and coated. And that stuffing mix is just going to soak all of that good buttery moisture up. All right, so I'm going to turn our heat off and just put the lid on and just let that set for a little bit. And we'll be ready to put that on top of our casserole here in just a little bit. So I'm going to take our cream of chicken soup, just kind of pour it over our chicken here. Of course, as it bakes, it'll get that chicken really good and moist again as it's baking. That's going to be delicious. All right. Here in just a moment, here in about 5 or 10 minutes, we'll flip up our stuffing mix, and we'll put that on top of our casserole. All right, we've got our stuffing mix is ready. It's set for a little bit. I'm going to just kind of fluff it with a fork. Oh yes. That looks fantastic. Now I use 2 boxes of the stuffing mix. So, of course, we're not going to waste any of that. I'm just going to kind of get the excess off that fork. And then we're just going to spoon this onto our casserole right on top. Now, I've seen some casserole recipes for chicken casserole that calls to add sour cream. And if you want to put that in, you go right ahead. I'm not big on sour cream, so I didn't use it. And when I was going through the kitchen that day, we didn't have any anyway. So I'm not big on it, and so I don't miss it in this at all. It's still good and creamy and delicious after it bakes. So getting all that on there. People, this kitchen smells heavenly already, and we've not even put it in the oven. Right. That looks fine. And I tell you what, my grandmother, she always made casseroles of some kind with the leftovers that she had from the day before. And every time I make something like this, it always brings back good memories of her. So we're putting this in a preheated 350-degree oven. And we're going to bake that for about 30 minutes till the top is good and golden brown. And next, we're going to get started on our Mexican cornbread. All right, we're going to get started on our Mexican cornbread. And of course, you can't have Mexican cornbread without a jalapeno. And as you can see, I've gloved up because we definitely don't want to be handling this with our bare hands. It will set you on fire. So I've cut the end off, and then I'm going to just cut right down the center here. And then we're going to take out the membrane and the seeds. And I'm going to use a spoon to do that. And as you can see, that is so easy. It just takes that right out of there. Of course, this is where all the heat is. So just take that, do that again with our spoon, and just kind of dig down in there, just do it real careful. That way you don't have seeds all over your kitchen. Just do it real careful, and you just get that out of there just like that. All right, there we go. And I'll kind of move all this off to the side here a little bit with my spoon. And we're going to just cut this into strips. Get those little seeds off there. Cut it into strips here. And then we'll just cut it into little bits here. This Mexican cornbread is so good. It's probably one of my favorite breads, and I love bread, that's for sure. But this is probably one of my favorite things. All right, I'll do the same thing to this side. Just kind of cut it. I kind of flatten it out a little bit, and then just let your knife do the work. But definitely do not attempt to cut up a jalapeno without your hands being gloved. I don't recommend it. It will set you on fire, and I am not kidding. And absolutely, when you get done cutting up your jalapeno, and I even suggest going ahead and putting it in your dish. And that way you can take your little board, and I'm using a kind of a separate board here too. Anyway, that way you can kind of take your board and get it away from off to the side, and then you can continue on. I'm going to put a little bit of salt. I've got 3 cups of cornmeal here. I'm putting in a teaspoon of salt, and I'm just going to whisk that together and get it good and mixed. Right. And to that, I'm going to go ahead, so I can get this out of here, I'm going to go ahead and add my jalapeno to that. There's one little bit there. I don't want to waste it. All right. Let me get my knife back here. And then we're going to put some green onions in it. Now, if you don't make a special trip to the store, if you don't have green onions at home, just use regular onions. But I use the white and the green parts. And boy, you can smell them. I love how pungent they are. Now, I don't go all the way down, but I'll still cut to where it's still got a little bit of a bite to it. And then when they start getting soft, that's where I'll kind of stop. All right, that's good enough. All right, we'll toss our ends here. All right, I'll go ahead and put that in there. Get that out of the way. And then I've got a red bell pepper, and that's going to give us some color. And I know a lot of people cut peppers differently, but I cut the bottom off so you kind of have a flat surface to cut on. And then I just kind of eye it and cut across the top. And try not to get any seeds in it, and if you do, just wipe them out. No big deal. I need to get a few in there, but again, ain't no big deal at all. All right, and then basically kind of flatten that out, put a little pressure on it, and we'll chop that up just like we did our jalapeno. So you already know this Mexican cornbread is going to be colorful. It's going to look like it's having a confetti party in there. Let's go ahead and just throw that in. Get that out of the way and get the rest of our peppers chopped up. Seeds off there. The thing that turned me on to Mexican cornbread was, and the person that turned me on to it was Jane Murray. She's a good friend of mine. And she has a recipe. I don't think she calls it Mexican cornbread. She calls it men folks cornbread. But I tell you what, it's so good. And this is kind of my own recipe. I love to try someone else's recipe, and then a lot of times, if I really like it, I'll make kind of my own version the way I like it and add a few things. That's what makes cooking fun for me. All right, so we've got all that done. To that, I'm going to add some creamed corn, and this is a can of creamed corn. I'm going to add that in there. I'm going to add a couple of eggs. Because you can't have cornbread without eggs. Actually, you can, but not in this recipe. This doesn't do it any justice. And I'm going to add in about a cup and a half, and then we're going to see where we're at. A cup and a half of shredded sharp cheddar cheese. I'm going to add about a third a cup of oil. And then I'm going to add me about 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk. And we're going to see where we're at. And we can adjust, get those eggs broken up. And I'm just using a rubber spatula. And we will see where we're at. If we need to add a little more, we'll add a little more buttermilk. And I think we're going to need it. So we're going to add just a little bit more buttermilk. We've probably ended up using a little over a cup and a quarter of buttermilk. And just stir all that together. Gosh, that looks good. Like I said, it looks like a confetti. All right. And let me clear the decks here, and we'll get ready to pour out our cornbread. We got the decks cleared, so I'm going to pour our cornbread batter into our well-greased cake pan, the 9x13 pan. Get every last drop of that in there. And then we're just going to spread it out. Gosh, you all, that looks delicious. Ain't much on licking batters, but I believe I could lick this and almost. Looks so good. Anyway, we'll spread that out kind of even. And then we're going to put it in a preheated 400-degree oven, and we're going to bake it for around 25 to 30 minutes or until it's good and golden brown. Put that in right now. Yeah, that's going to be perfect when that comes out. When we come back, we're going to get our meal put together and we're going to eat it up. So stay tuned. I tell you what, if you were here right now, your tongue would be slapping your brains out. I can't wait to dig into this chicken casserole. And I want you to look how creamy and rich that is. Big chunks of chicken. Gosh, that looks good. And then I'm going to get us out a small piece of our cornbread. I don't believe in small pieces. I want everybody to be fed. All right, there we go. Get our jalapeno cornbread there. Gosh, it looks good. Let me get a fork real quick. And we're going to try this. chicken casserole. Gosh. Oh, that is fantastic. And that's so quick and easy. You could put this together of a morning before you go to work, put it in the fridge, and as soon as you get home, drag it out, put it in the oven. Have dinner in about a half hour. That is fantastic. Got those big chunks of chicken in it, and it's good, creamy. So good. Let's try some of our Mexican cornbread. You can taste the onion, the jalapeno in it. That good sweet pepper. So tasty. That is fantastic. And of course, we're going to end it with the best thing. You may not ever forget what you had for supper, but everybody's going to remember this dessert. This peanut butter pie. Get it cut out here. Man, that looks so good. And before we plate it, I got some chocolate sauce. I'm kind of going to just do a little drizzle, just like they do in restaurants. You can do that at home too. Look at there. That delicious peanut butter pie. Yum. Gosh, that looks good. Of course, now we got to eat it. I tell you what, tongue slap your brains out good. And that chocolate sauce, just like eating a Reese cup. So I hope that you will try these recipes. These are, like I said, stuff that we just had in the pantry and the fridge that we just threw together. And it's so good. And a lot of you have this stuff in your house already. Get into that pantry, get into that fridge, and see what you got and make something out of it. For all of us at MTTV, we bid you a good day, eat good, and be kind.